Hey everybody, welcome to the Political Vigilante. What I'm going to talk about today was sent to me from $5 patron Jeff Booten. Jeff, thank you so much for supporting the show. And at the $5 level, you get to pick a topic or article for me to discuss. And Jeff wants to discuss, and it's very timely and poignant at this point, is how everyone's coming out to get Tulsi Gabbard. She is the representative from Hawaii, and she has been vocal against the rocket attacks that Trump sent to Syria last week. And what is interesting about this is Howard Dean has come out against her, and there's also an article in the Huffington Post that is linking her to David Duke and the alt-right. It's really, they're painting her in this, she visited Syria, like she's a pro-Assad person, and it's just insane. And I'm going to put the link. She did an interview with Emma Vigilante from the Young Turks, and it's like a 17-minute interview, and I'll put the link below, and you can probably just find it if you go to Young Turks. It's a fantastic interview. It's from 2 months ago. And she goes into why she's against like a war in Syria and what her visit was about. And her visit was about, look, Assad is not like the woman, the interviewer asks her, so Assad is not a good guy. The human rights organizations, he's done all these atrocities. And Tulsi Gabbard goes, yes, he is a bad guy, but what we're doing now is we're backing the rebels have ties to Al-Qaeda. So what are we going to get rid of him and then put in a new Al-Qaeda backed government that has also done awful things? She's like, this is a bad thing, but like Assad is not a good guy, but this is the world we live in, and this regime change doesn't work. She's an Iraq vet. She posted on Twitter a couple days ago, I had friends of mine that didn't come back from Iraq, so I don't want to do this again. I don't want to send hundreds of thousands of people into Syria. She goes, it's nonsense. And she's taking so much shit from the left. It's unbelievable. Watch the full interview. You get a good sense of who she is. I think she could be the next president in 2020. She got a lot of praise. She backed Bernie Sanders in the primary, right? And everyone was like, oh, wow, she's a real progressive. She's a real progressive. And now it's disappointing because Bernie hasn't really come to her defense. Not that I've seen. Maybe he has and I've missed it. It's disappointing because Bernie is sounding more like the people on the left who are like, Assad's bad, we got to get him out of there. And just because she's asking the question, she asked this question when she was interviewed by Wolf Blitzer. She's like, wait a minute, let's see. Did he use? She's just asking the question, did Assad use chemical weapons? Oh man, she's a pro-Trump, pro-Assad. She's just like David Duke and the alt-right. It's insane. It's insane the way the corporate war machine is going after her. And Howard Dean, man, he's the worst. He's the absolute worst. So I want to read you some of these articles. So there was an article that was on rawstory.com written by Tag Bagioni. No different than Trump with Putin. Howard Dean says Tulsi Gabbard should resign for defending Assad, right? Howard Dean says this. So this is what Howard Dean said. I think it's outrageous, a terse Dean responded. There's a long, well-known history both in our intelligence community, Amnesty International, and Doctors Without Borders. Every single one of these agencies has said that Assad is using chemical weapons. He's a barbarian. He's murdered 500,000 people on his own. I can't imagine how you could make a statement like that, especially being on the Foreign Relations Committee. She's on the Foreign Relations Committee. I can't imagine what could possibly be going through her head. And so then to that end, then Witt asks, to that end, you put a tweet out, and I'm going to read it to everybody, okay? This is a disgrace. Gabbard should not be in Congress, Howard Dean said on Twitter. I saw the tweet. And Witt asked, all she's asking for is proof. Yeah, Howard Dean, she just wants proof. And then let Congress decide. She's even said, in the interview with Wolf Blitzer that's also out there, where Wolf, she was like, I want to see proof. And Wolf just goes, oh, well, the Secretary of Defense gave her proof. And I did a story quoting Mattis from Mad Dog Mattis from 2013 saying we shouldn't go into Syria and just go in and pull down a statue. And then what do? We got to have we can't just go in there and do regime change, alluding to how regime change didn't work in Iraq. It doesn't work. It didn't work in Afghanistan. We just sent a mega bomb, the biggest bomb ever we just sent to Afghanistan to blow up tunnels that we helped finance when we were backing the Mujahideen in the 80s against the Soviet Union. It's just preposterous, you know? And Howard Dean is just, it's the war machine, and he's going on MSNBC. Then there's another article on the so-called liberal Huffington Post, written by Akbar Shahid Ahmed. Here's who still supports Bashar Assad. U.S. fans from Tulsi Gabbard to David Duke stand their ground after Trump's airstrikes. She's a fan of Assad, according to this guy in Huffington Post. That's the spin. You notice this now? Pay close attention, you guys. This is why I urge you to cancel your cable and support independent media like this. Because it's like, this is the Huffington Post, right? The liberal, left-leaning. I've done articles from the Huffington Post. Sometimes they get some stuff that's okay. This is insane. They're putting, anytime there's a real progressive out there, the media, the corporate media crushes them. It's like when they cut away from Bernie giving a speech to show an empty podium where Trump was going to speech. You know what I mean? They kept talking about Trump TV, and Bernie does a thing on Facebook, and the mainstream media doesn't really want to talk about that. It's unbelievable. And they talk about, recently traveled to visit with Assad. She didn't visit with Assad. She visited with a bunch of people. She talked to people who were like, hey, the rebels that the United States is backing are killing and raping people. It's pretty fucking awful. And she understands that Assad is bad. She gets that. Like, just asking a question, oh, you're a pro-Assad David Duker. This is fucking unbelievable, man. This article, since that... on the day the reports of the chemical bombing emerged, she said she wanted whoever carried it out to be held accountable, a statement suggesting she didn't believe the intelligence pointed to Assad. She just said she wants whoever held accountable. She's allowed to ask questions. We shouldn't ask questions before we rush into war. Like, we've learned nothing from Iraq. And the media is completely complicit. It's like Brian Williams. Oh, these beautiful Tomahawk missiles. Yeah, you're not at a 4th of July parade, asshole. They're going to fucking blow someone up. And aligning her, again, but the rhetoric, Gabbard has denounced Richard Spencer as she distanced himself from former KKK leader David Duke, a Spencer ally and Assad fan who praised Gabbard's position on Syria. So if David Duke says he's in favor of Tulsi Gabbard, that means she's pro David Duke? Hitler was a vegetarian. I'm a vegetarian. Oh, Graham Elwood is a cattle industry hating Nazi, just like Hitler. That's the same association. It's fucking crazy. If Richard Spencer drives an electric car and I'm a proponent of electric cars, that means I'm like the alt-right? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's unbelievable, and no one wants to ask any questions. And this whole article is disgusting. It's unbelievable what this is the left-wing media. It's unbelievable. Like, this guy's the worst. So this is a reason why, as I've said, you should cut your cable and save the money from cable and support this show. My Patreon link below, Jimmy Dore, the Young Turks, Secular Talk. A handful of us are the only ones actually talking about this, because this is what the so-called liberal media is doing. Trying to crush a progressive. I mean, she just wants to ask questions and, like, let's not rush into war. And she's viewed as this, like, David Duke, Nazi, pro-Assad, like... It's insane. They're going to tire to everybody. Russia, Assad, anyone else they can tire to. This was happens. When I first read, I was posting about Tulsi Gabbard when I did the pro-pot story a couple weeks ago. And someone on Twitter was like, uh-oh, read this, Graham. Watch out. She's a pro-Trumper. And I read that story and I was like, is this true? Because I didn't know that much about her. And I was like, is this true? Or is this what happens when a real progressive shows up and they just crush them? So pay close attention, you guys, and thanks for supporting this show. And thank you so much, Jeff, for sending me this information, because it's good to see how even the Huffington Post is full of shit.